Bem-vindo à entrevista especial para o Hope Channel Portugal, organizada pelo Departamento de Liberdade Religiosa. Nós temos connosco, durante estes dias que estamos a passar, o pastor John Graz, Dr. John Graz, que durante 20 anos foi presidente do Departamento da Conferência Geral de Liberdade Religiosa e de Assuntos Públicos. E, dado o facto de ele ter estado em Lisboa e ter estado numa conferência organizada pela Associação Internacional para a Defesa da Liberdade Religiosa aqui em Lisboa, nós achamos que era uma oportunidade para ter uma entrevista com ele sobre a visão dele sobre a liberdade religiosa, a nossa Igreja e a sua experiência ao longo destes anos de serviço. Uma entrevista que pudesse ser vista por todos, em casa, todos os nossos irmãos adventistas e por si em particular, e vamos fazê-lo durante estes momentos que aqui vamos passar. Convidei para estar comigo a nossa irmã doutora Dulce Neto, que fez o favor de aceitar e me vai ajudar a dirigir esta entrevista, e gostaríamos acima de tudo de que ela servisse como um documento de uma vida dedicada à Igreja e à liberdade religiosa. O pastor John Graz, no ano 2015, ao fim de 20 anos, retirou-se do serviço ativo e visitou Portugal para ser homenageado nesta conferência. Dulce, muito obrigado pela tua presença.
Obrigada.
E eu gostaria de te dar a primazia na primeira pergunta.
Okay. Well, yesterday during the conference in Universidade Lusófona, you talked about religious freedom festivals. How is that possible to gather thousands of people in a stadium to talk about freedom, religious freedom? How it comes?
Yeah, that is a good question, because that was the question we had when we started. And that was a great experience, and an experience of faith too, because, you know, I thought we should do something more than just to have a symposium, congresses, where we have a selected group of people, a scholar, official of government, religious leaders, and some pastors or religious leaders, people too. But that's not enough. I thought that, you know, if you lose religious freedom, everyone will be in trouble. Not just the leaders, but everyone. It means people in the street, people who believe, and they should also be part of this movement to say we love religious freedom, we want to keep it. That was the first thing, and we should associate people to the promotion of religious freedom. Of course, the question is they are not interested most of the time, and especially in countries where they have freedom, they don't see why they should be interested. We have freedom, why we should be interested? And my answer was, thank you for those who are persecuted. They will love your reaction. First, you know, we have to think about that. The freedom we have today, we can lose it. And if we do nothing to protect the freedom we have, we will lose it. And if we are not sensitive about those who are persecuted, which are, you know, 75% of the world population lives in countries where there is no religious freedom. Million people are persecuted. We used to say that about 200 million Christians are discriminated or persecuted. It means it's a really serious issue. And we have to show that not just a few group of people, but people, a large group of people, love religious freedom and want to keep it. And now I had to find a concept. And the concept I find after traveling around the world, visiting countries where people are persecuted. When I came back to Europe or to the US, I lived in the US this time, I enjoy to live in a country where I can pray, I can go to church, I can express, share what I believe without being arrested, without being assassinated, crucified, beheaded, or without seeing my church burned. And I said, but you know, what did I do for that? And I travel around the world and I ask the question in free countries, what did you do for the freedom you have today? And most of the people look at me and say, what strange question, what did we do? No, we did nothing. You did nothing, but you're free. But it means that the freedom you have today, it's a gift. Mm-hmm. And you receive a gift. You agree with me? Is it an important gift or not? Yes, it is an important gift. But what did you say? What should we say when we receive a gift?
Thank you.
One word, thank you. And it started with the concept, now time has come to say thank you, a big thing to God, but to the country which protect my freedom. and to the people of the country, which protect my freedom. And how can we do that? We have to gather the maximum of people.
So those festivals are a celebration of freedom?
Yeah, it's a celebration of religious freedom. Of course, we have to attract people anyway. It means we have to build a very attractive program. And we receive a lot of contribution from artists. You know, they are very pleased to come. And in some countries, people like very much to have speakers. In some other country, they like to have a short speech, but a lot of song, music, and so on. It means we adjust, we adapt.
It's interreligious.
Yeah, of course, yes, because you cannot defend religious freedom just for yourself. It means we invite people from all religions. Mm-hmm. We invite people, we invite ambassador, we invite people from the government, and we had minister, prime minister, and so on. We have top-level people. And to say, because we want to thank the country, and also to show that we can have a different religion and live together, respecting each other.
Could you please tell us some places where the festivals took place and some numbers?
There are about, should say, more than 40 cities and countries, and about 300,000 people attended, were gathered. The largest one was in Lima, Peru. That was the first World Festival with 45,000, but also in Luanda, about 45,000 people, 10,000 people walking for religious freedom. The first one was in Sao Paulo with 12,000 people in a stadium, indoor stadium, and 10,000 or maybe more outside who had no place inside. Then we had the second World Festival in Sao Paulo too with about 30,000 people. It means we have, and just a few weeks ago, we had another festival in Madagascar with 17,000, 18,000 people. Means we had this event on the 6 continents and to celebrate religious freedom. You know, the answer is, if you do nothing to protect your freedom, at least to show to the government and to the country that you love this freedom, and this is why I do, I ask people to stand up and to say, thank you, God, for religious freedom. And people repeat, thank you, my country, for religious freedom. They repeat. And now we send a message. We love religious freedom. We want to keep it. And these simple things, time has come to say, thank you for religious freedom. Yeah.
And it happens in all kind of countries, or in countries that you have religious freedom, or you also had those festivals in countries where there is no religious freedom?
I would like to have such a festival
but
in North Korea. But,
well, not North Korea.
I am sure that we will have 1 million people there. But it's not, of course, it's not. This is why, the festival...
What about the Arab world?
Yeah, it is where you have the right to do it.
Okay.
Because if that's clear, but everywhere, I think that the goal is that everywhere we have religious freedom, we should say thank you for it.
Yes, you said where we have the right to do it, but in Western countries, we do have the right to do it more or less. Yesterday, you talked about France and about Swiss, where they banned the minarets. You say minarets in English?
Yeah.
Or in France, where they passed a law about the veil of the Muslims. So in those countries, officially, you have religious freedom.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Yeah, you have to make a difference between some restrictions about religious freedom, which happen in most of the country. You have some restriction, and also religious freedom doesn't mean you can do everything you want.
Okay.
Just saying that I want my religious freedom to kill my neighbor. No, that's not a part of religious freedom. It means you have limits, of course, but there is a big difference between things that you can, like in America too, you have some violation, but you go to court. And you win because, according to the law, you have religious freedom and it is protected. You have some law in Europe, we can restrict religious freedom, but we can talk about it, we can react. Okay. You are not assassinated, you are not arrested because you disagree. But in some other country, you are killed. If I take the example of the law on blasphemy, which is more and more, not just in one country like Pakistan, but it is also in several countries and it's growing. The number of countries is growing. When you say something, even which could be interpreted as not an insult, but a critic of the religion of the majority. You can be arrested, put to jail, and you can be sentenced to death. Because there are several people who are still in prison in Pakistan. They did nothing, but they are accused of blasphemy. They are sentenced to death. We don't want to have this kind of thing in our countries. And how can we do? We have to react. We have to celebrate what we have, but we have to promote what we believe. Now you have many people coming from other countries, from Middle East and so on. I think that in every country where the immigrants come, they should have the opportunity, the possibility to understand what does it mean to live in a democratic countries, what are our values, and among them, religious freedom. Religious freedom for them, but also they have to understand that they have also to accept religious freedom for the other, which is not the case in many countries.
Yes, I would like to put you a question about that with all these refugees that are coming to Europe. And you can see that they are coming from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And you can feel that some Europeans are afraid.
Yeah.
Because they are afraid of what is different, but also because there must be some prejudice, I think. But then you can ask things like this: okay, I will respect their freedom, their religious freedom, but what about human rights when these people and their culture and their religion, when they are violating human rights like the child's marriage or the female mutilation?
Yeah.
How do you answer
and
to
also,
this?
People who are persecuted in this part of the world, like Christians, like the IASD, they have not only been persecuted, but killed, crucified, beheaded. We say that about 6,000 young women, Christian young women and Azeri young women, are slaves in these territory controlled by the ISIS, which means that the culture is sometimes, the culture of the majority is just not open to human rights. We talk about the blasphemy law in Pakistan. It's clear that at the level of the elite, people are against these laws, but they cannot change. Even the government cannot change, because the culture in some region of Pakistan are in favor of the blasphemy law. It means when people come, because they have such a problem, we have to help them. We have to show compassion, to do our best, but at the same time, we should make sure that people understand what does it mean, human rights, and among them, the most sensitive of them, religious freedom.
But they will tell you that you are not respecting their religious freedom if you say not to marry little girls.
Yeah, that's true, correct. But what are you doing at this time? And at this time you say, sorry, this is the way we are living here. I travel around the world, and if I go to some countries, I know that I should not do that, because if I do that, which means nothing for me, I will offend people in a country. I don't want to offend people in a country. In every country, in every part of the world, you know that you have things you should not do. But because you want to be polite with people, you don't do it. It means it should be, it's a matter of education, and I'm sure that most of the people will understand that. But our responsibility is to bring this way of thinking and say that it's important for us. Now, we are living in another. You are living in another context. That's important that you learn how people are living here. But of course, you have to respect their religion. You have to respect everything which is important for them. Like maybe you should avoid to provoke them. But there are things where it's very difficult to make compromise for someone who believes in human rights. And at this time, you have to find the best way. But don't make... The problem is, when we don't have religious conviction, we are very open to many compromise, just to have peace. We have peace, okay, religion is not important, all religions are the same, why we should change, why we should ask them to do. No, You know, you have to say, no, that's it's important for us, and I can explain why.
So the problem of the lack of religious freedom are the religions?
Very often, but not all the time, because, you know, you can see that people who don't have religion, like atheists, you have countries like North Korea, China, and some other country where they are not religious country, but very strict and very oppressive, some of them, on religions.
Paul, sorry, but
yes.
Yesterday you said that sometimes you have to convince the religious leaders of the importance of religious freedom.
Yeah, because
so
you
we
know,
are part of the problem. We religious people are part of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Religious people are part of the problem, because that's very simple. You know, when you talk with the leaders and you talk about religious freedom, for some, what does it mean? It means open the door. You open the door of your countries to other religion, and maybe they can take your members, they can compete with you, and you don't like that. You want to protect yourself.
What about us, Adventists? Are we afraid to, or?
I think we are in a position where it's we are minorities in many countries. In the only country where really we are not the majority, but a good number, is Jamaica, and they are very dedicated to religious freedom. You know, the president, or the Senate president, who is an Adventist, he said publicly, you know, the one who is against religious freedom in our country has to be very courageous. It means, no, it's a well accepted. If Adventists would become a majority. First, you know, I think that we are divided between us very fastly. We will disagree between conservative, liberal, vegetarian, fish or vegetarian, those who don't like that. It means I don't see us as a bloc following one leader. Adventist has a democratic tradition. It means we don't follow one leader. We elect people and we disagree. And we have people who agree and disagree. I don't think that we will impose what we believe to others, or it has to take a lot of time to reach it. But you know, Christians, they were persecuted for 300 years, about 300 years. And in few years, when they were recognized, persecution stopped. We should never forget that. Persecution stopped. You have the Edict of Milan. Then few years later, in 380, you have another edict. And Christianity became the only religion in the Roman Empire, and the other were persecuted. It means this is why it's also important to talk about religious freedom to people who share your faith, even if today they have no problem, because the human nature is such a way that, and religion can be used by politics, by people who want to have more power, and in this case, the essence of religion will be betrayed.
I would like to start asking something to you about the role of our church in terms of religious liberty defense and promotion, because the festivals that you've presented us yesterday and today also in this interview are the high point of a work that began more than 100 years ago. What has been the role of the Adventist Church promoting and defending religious liberty?
But first, you know, I think that we were the first and the only church to have a department of religious freedom, and to create an association. You know, the department was organized in 1901. I don't see any other church having a department of religious freedom. Some now have a department of social justice or a department of human rights, but just religious freedom. We did not create the concept of religious freedom. For us, it comes from the gospel. Jesus was our master. But you know, the Mennonites during the 16th century were really in favor of religious freedom. Then the Baptists, the Anabaptists, we received that from the Anabaptist, Baptist, Mennonite, and so on. And we share this vision, separation between church and state and religious freedom. From this time, you know, we published books, we published magazine, We have a Liberty magazine, the #1 magazine on religious freedom, 200,000 copies every 2 months. And we organize symposium, congresses, and many other activities. And it means among churches, I think it was said by many other religious leaders, Adventists are the champion in the field of religious freedom.
And Ellen White was a defender of...
Absolutely. She gave a fabulous quotation. She said that if we if we are sitting, doing nothing to protect, to defend the freedom of conscience, not just religious freedom, freedom of conscience, we are not doing the will of God.
Yes.
And about religious freedom, she said that the banner...
Yes, that's it. That's
the banner of the truth. That we could talk a lot about this quotation because there are two things. The banner of the truth, and most of the religious people will stop there. Truth, that's enough. We don't need other words. On the banner, you just have one word, truth. We are the truth, we have the truth. That's enough. But the truth and religious liberty. It means the truth without religious liberty is no longer the truth. The truth is with religious liberty. It means with the respect and for other, and the recognition that they have the right to have other religion and the right to choose.
You have been for more than 20 years the face of Seventh-day Adventist Church, not only in religious liberty but also public affairs. How do you feel that society in the United States and in Europe, because we are in Portugal right now, see the church right now?
See the church
yes.
as...
How the society
see the church.
See the church.
Yeah, first, the
Adventist church.
People who don't know us, they are surprised that we are defending religious freedom. People who don't have knowledge about it, they don't see us on this field. They see us on evangelism, proselytism, but religious freedom, why? Especially when we say we defend religious freedom for all, and they are very surprised. Why for all? For you too, yeah? And they don't understand why. You know, this group, very conservative group, how is it possible that this group is defending religious freedom for all? And when they see us in congresses, symposium, inviting people from other religion, talking with people from other religion, they say, but that's very strange. But as our president, Dr. Elder Ted Wilson said, you know, the religious freedom is part of the DNA of the Adventist Church. And every time people are aware of that, they have another vision, they have another understanding of what is our church really.
You are always very worried about the work that a church member or a church pastor can do regarding his community, and you have launched an idea to create a church ambassador and the local church. Would you like to present us the idea, please?
I wrote a guide which has been translated in Portuguese, Spanish, Romanian, and several other languages to explain how to be a church ambassador. It means, you know, very often at the local church, people say religious freedom is not for us. It's an expert like you, Paulo, or like other people, but not us at the local church. What can we do? And I said, yes, you know, first, you know, you have public affairs and religious freedom. In fact, it's all together. In fact, in every church, you need to have relations with the community, with people in charge of the community, with other religious leaders. You don't want to be isolated. That's not good to be isolated. It's not our vocation to be isolated. We don't want to join, you know, a big movement to create one church and so on, but we want to have good relation with everyone. We want to be a blessing for the society, for the community. We want to be a center of influence. How can you do that? The pastor, you said the pastor, no, the pastor is very busy. He will not attend 10 meetings because he have no time. But in every church, you normally should elect someone who is the head of the public affairs and religious liberty. You have to choose someone who is able to talk with people outside of the church. He will become the ambassador of the church. He will attend meeting where the pastor cannot go. He will say to the pastor and to the community, we have to be present here. This is what happened in our community. And he will become the face, the face of the church in the community. And people understand that better than just you need to have a religious leader in every church. They understand that every church should have an ambassador, like every country has an ambassador, every church. And I took the example of the empty seat. You have meeting and all the religious leaders are invited, but there is an empty seat. The Adventists are not here. They did not come. What does it mean, an empty seat? An empty seat is not a good testimony. An empty seat cannot speak. Some people can speak for the empty seat, but it's not good. It's better to be well represented. And now you have to choose someone who can. You are proud as a member. You see the church is well represented. You are proud about it. You should not choose someone and you are very disturbed about the one you have chosen. It means it has to be a serious job, but every church should select their ambassador.
Unfortunately, there are some people that are always a little bit frightened because of the relations with other churches and the public also, the public government. What I ask, I would like you to explain to us the Seventh-day Adventist position, official position, and also your point of view regarding ecumenism. And there is a lot of confusion about this, and I would like to take advantage of your presence.
There is a lot of confusion, and I should say that the confusion are cultivated by some groups which try to always to find something to attack us. And when they see us shaking the hand of an imam, ecumenism, shaking the head of the Catholic bishop, or even cardinal, ecumenism, shaking the head of the pastor, ecumenism. It means, according to them, I should have changed my religion 10 times a day because I shake the hand of people from different religion. But that's just a matter of courtesy. We are not living, we have connection. I don't know how these people are living in their community. They don't shake the hand of people. They ask people, what is your religion before shaking the hand? When they go to the shop, they ask the guy who sells things, what is your religion? No, I don't want to buy anything from you because you are from another religion. There is a big difference between relations, good relation, and we are in favor of relation and good relation, and ecumenism. And a big difference between ecumenism and religious freedom. People confuse, just because they see picture. What is ecumenism? The dream of ecumenism. I said the dream because that's not the case today. I have been a member of several inter-church group. I have been secretary of the Christian World Communion for 12 years, top Christian leaders representing 2 billion Christians. And I can assure you, it's not tomorrow that you will have one church. And I attend several meetings of the World Council of Churches. It's not tomorrow you will have one church. But what is the goal? That is a dream. When you talk with people who are convinced about ecumenism, they see that one day we will have one church, one organic church. That's a dream, and some theologian, like even Cardinal Kasparov, said that it's a dream which will happen when Jesus will come. It's an eschatological dream. But on earth, that's another story. And when you know better the different religion, you know that. But what is religious freedom now? And it may happen one day that, the government, as it did in the 4th century, say, no, we are not happy with having too many religions. We need to have one religion, one country, one religion, as it happened in some countries. Put you together. It happened several times in the past. We need one Christian religion. Put you together, like in China, where you have one Protestant. But in this time, what will happen if you defend religious freedom? Religious freedom is the right to be different. We will defend people who don't want to join one religion. We will say that, and we say that, they have the right to be Methodist, Buddhist, Baptist, Pentecostal, Adventist, Catholic. They have the right.
Or atheist.
Yeah, or atheists, exactly. They have the right. You cannot force them to be one if they don't want to be one. And you can see that. This is why, sometimes we had some difficulty to be understood by people who are very militant about ecumenism, because they see that religious freedom has the opposite of ecumenism, because we defend the right of people. If you want to be one, you have the right to be one. But if you want not to join those who are one, you have the right, and we will defend you. We can say that ecumenism is like that, and religious freedom is like that. Two different movements. But we have to respect those who believe in ecumenism. Why not, after all? They have the right to believe in that, but not the right to impose.
Yeah.
When you talk about relations between religions and to have good relations between religions, should I invite a Baptist pastor to preach in my church?
I think that it's according to the will of your church. I should not say a pastor you should invite. You have to have the sensibility about, to be sensitive enough about how your member will react. If the member says, we don't see that as a good thing, don't do it. I invited pastor or people from other religion, but in afternoon. Some people invite in the morning. But I don't want to create a problem in my church or in any church because we invite someone. And if you ask the question to any other religious leader, the answer will be the same.
Yeah. You are a Swiss citizen.
And
you
French.
are also
I have
French
2 passports.
citizen. You have lived in United States for many years, so you have a large experience. But I want to ask you a very personal question. I discovered that in your biography, I don't think that you ever talked about it. I've never heard it, but I wanted to know at what point it influenced you to have a grandfather that was a Second World War hero protecting the Jews against persecution. And I know your grandfather died in Dachau. I'm sorry to talk about it, but I wanted to know how did this experience influence your work in religious liberty?
It's influenced me as an example. I say my grandfather died because he helped people who were persecuted. Not only a Jew, then he did not organize meeting like a network like John Weiner, but he helped people who knock at his door. We were living close to a forest. He knew the way to go to Switzerland. And time to time you have people, they were researched by the Nazis and so on. And they knock at the door. We need to be protected because we will be arrested. And they help them. They help them to cross the border. And one day my uncle told that they were looking, because we had a large property, and they saw, my grandfather saw some smoke in the field. And they went down and they saw a couple with a little girl or little child. And they were Jews. They did not know where to go. They were just in the middle of these field, with high. We cannot see them, but they had a smoke because they had they were cold. And he helped them, and they crossed the border. But one day the German came and the soldier came and they arrested him, and he never come back. And of course, it shows how important is the freedom. And one thing, it's important. What happened when you don't have? And secondly, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of people. How many people? A lot of people give their life for the freedom I have today. And of course, it's maybe connected with the festival. And in one way or another, I think we should pay tribute. We should see in Portugal who were really in Portugal, people who defended the freedom we have today, and pay tribute to them, because we forget them. Or we talk about just one or two, and pay tribute. And that could be done during the Religious Liberty Saturday, or have a special celebration where you honor those who gave their life for my freedom today. And I am very proud to have my grandfather doing that. But not only my grandfather, my uncle also died during the war. He was fighting with the Allies. It means, of course, it's inspire. I don't say that it's something which make you in the obligation to do something, but when you are doing, you feel that you are part of these great values you had in your own family.
I know you have some personal questions also.
No. You wrote several books, and one is translated even in Portuguese, I think one at least. Which one would you highlight, or which one gave you more feedback, or you have more stories to tell us about that book?
I think the last book I wrote about Church Ambassador gave me a lot of feedback, translated in several languages. Another one I published with Bird Beach was Question Adventists Ask, also with a lot of, but probably I would put on number one the book on success, because success in life. Because when I wrote this book, you know, I was working as a youth leader, and I wanted to encourage our young people, the young people. And I wanted to say to them, you know, religion can help you. God can help you in your success in life. God is not against success in life. God is your best way to succeed in life. And that was my message. I give lecture on this theme, and I saw how people receive it, and I wanted to encourage people. And I still today, you know, 30 years after, I still receive, you know, testimony of people who said to me, and everywhere around the world where the book has been translated, oh, you know, I read your book, and it was so encouraging. Just 3 weeks ago, when I was in Madagascar, someone came, you know, with the book. The book was very old, and he said, "Can you sign it?" This book gave me so much encouragement, and I was happy because it encouraged people. Okay. That was probably, I think when you write something, if you are not a professional writer, very gifted like you, you know, when you write something, you need to ask a question, why am I writing? And my answer is, I want to encourage people.
Okay. And in all these years, 20 years fighting for religious freedom, did you had a panic moment, or did you have a hard time?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I have
your
some.
Worst moment.
I have some. The worst probably was, it's not about persecution, but it was about, you know, a publicity we made for a Congress, and the one who was in charge worked in my department, and I don't know why, but he invited the president of the country, by the way it was India, he invited without asking to be the convener of the Congress. It means the one who invite people. And when it was an announce and a publicity for Liberty magazine, but in a full page, 200,000 copies in the US, full page. And when I saw that, I said, but did you ask? Did you ask the authorities, the embassy and so on, for the permission to put the name of the president? And he said, no, but we have a good contact with them. I said, you did not ask? And I started to panic, really. And I asked a good friend who had contact with the Indian embassy, please explain that we have a problem now, we put the name. And the embassy said, did you receive a letter from the president? We did not. Say, stop everything, we don't want to see that. But now, you know, you have 200,000 copies, and normally I ask the editor, and I said, what about this copy? It has already been done. And they say, yes, it was done and sent last week. And I said, what can we do? And the embassy said, you have to collect all the copies. You can imagine 2,000 copies, how you can do that? And I said to her, but just call, make sure that it's done, maybe they are late. And she called, and people say, yes, it's done, but let me see. And he came back, and he said, no, just one truck has just left. It will bring, I don't know how many thousand copies at this point. but it has not been delivered today.
No.
Please come back, come back, come back. And we were able to change, to bring the 200,000 copies and to put a big, not a big, but a black spot on the name of the president. I can assure you that was terrible for me, because we had a Congress there, we had a good relation with the president there, with everything went well there, and suddenly you do something like that. That was the saddest point was when I had to, we had a Congress meeting of experts every year, and that was in 2011, I guess, if I remember well. It was our 13th meeting of experts, and it was in Sydney at the university. But just 2 or 3 days before, a good friend of us, you too, Karel Novak, went to Australia, and he spent 2 days of vacation swimming in a place in Cairns where he could see the beautiful seas. And when I arrived there, I remember I received a telephone call early in the morning. I was under the jet lag, and the news was Karen died. He was swimming and he died. And I said, how it's happened, and so on. And after I had to go, I was a volunteer, I had to do that. I had to go there, took his bags, took his ashes, and talk with the police, and bring it back to Sydney, then took all the authorization and bring his ashes and his bag back to Prague. And I will never forget that. When I passed the custom, I saw his wife, his daughter, and a friend of hers waiting. Mm-hmm. They were waiting not for their husband, and they had to celebrate a wedding the week after. They were not waiting for their husband, they were waiting for the ashes, and I brought, instead to bring back their husband, I brought a box with the ashes. That was probably the saddest moment maybe in my life too.
But did you have any touching moment as fighting for the freedom of someone?
Yeah, also I have to say that the most dangerous time was when I was in eastern Indonesia, where Christian and Muslim were fighting. More than 8,000 people died, when I saw all the destruction. And that was very dangerous. We should not have done that. But we met the Muslim leader, we met the Christian leaders, and we were not protected. Everything could have happened there. And that was very, very dangerous. But at the same time, we encourage people. We try to build bridges. And I think that when I saw the stadium in Lima filled with 45,000 people, I did not believe that.
You cried?
No, I did not, but I said, that's incredible. And that wasn't, they did so well there, and people were the gift of organizing such a big meeting. That's a dream, the dream now, it's here, right here. And also when I received last time, the Medal of the Congress in Peru, and the Medal of the First Freedom Center, I was very proud, because it's a very prestigious medal, and it was given to me, but through me, to all our association.
Mm-hmm. Is there any case, concrete case, that you fight for the freedom of that person, and that person was in freedom? Like Pastor Monteiro?
Yeah, that's also that's also a beautiful thing.
Because he's a Portuguese-speaking pastor. So
we
Pastor
know.
Monteiro, and I went there when he was arrested. We followed that from the beginning, and I went there, and I met him in prison, and I preached in the prison, that terrible prison.
You preach in the prison?
Yeah, I preached inside the prison to the prisoner. They were all around. Terrible places.
You told me that there were 3,000 people in a place where there should be 600.
Yeah, normally there should be 600 in a prison, but there were 2,000. And in the cells, there should be 20, 25, and there were 80. Pastor Monteiro was in another cell, but life was terrible there. Terrible. Fortunately, maybe half of the people in prison were innocent. They were arrested and they did not know why they were there. And they were not judged because that was so slow and so on. And that's the case in many places where people are arrested. You don't know if they are guilty or not, but they are not judged.
But that was a story with a happy end, but there are a lot of stories with...
Yeah, the other side is the one who was arrested with him, he is totally innocent, it's still in prison.
And yesterday you talked about an archbishop?
Yeah, a good friend of mine, yeah. Mark Gregorius. He was arrested trying to help people to be free, people who have been kidnapped. He was negotiating their freedom in Syria. And a very good friend, and I remember when the conflict started in Syria, he said, but for the moment, in Aleppo, which is you have a lot of Christian, in Aleppo we are protected. And that's no longer the case, unfortunately for them. And that was very sad. We don't know what happened to him. Don't know what happened.
He was a Catholic?
No, he was a Syrian Orthodox church. The local church, the church which has almost 2,000 years.
So you know nothing about him?
Dr. Graz, we are coming to our finish, but I wanted to ask two simple questions. First of all, how did you find our country? I know you haven't been to Portugal for 25 years almost. What do you think about Portugal now?
I like very much, what we saw today. That was fabulous. I think I said I will say to my wife, we need to come and spend some vacation in Lisbon, and I would like to go to the south. I used to come to Portugal 20 or 30 years ago, almost every year. Then during 20 years, but I appreciate, and we visited this beautiful castle today. I did not know that. Yeah, that's the climate, the weather, the environment, the people, everything make that when we come to Portugal, we want to come back again.
I only ask you to leave a final message to our church members regarding the encouragement to work in the religious liberty. What I would like to say that it's not because you are free today that you will be free tomorrow. But if you do nothing today to protect the freedom, you may lose your freedom. And at this time, you will not have to complain, because if you don't defend and promote religious freedom, you don't deserve to have this freedom. And also, if you don't defend and promote religious freedom, you don't deserve to have in the past people dying for the freedom we have today. This is why I would like to see more militant people. In the positive side, religious freedom, we follow a soft diplomacy. We are not aggressive. We don't attack people. But in the positive side, saying we believe in that, we want to protect it. We want to encourage people, politicians, members of the government, who defend and protect religious freedom. They need our support. If not, they are alone. And to do that, we have to organize events, and not just once happen, as you did, and we have to follow this tradition, to build a tradition, a visible event to promote religious freedom. I thank you very much for coming to Portugal, first of all, for this interview also, but also for your life in the ministry and also in the service of religious liberty and the church.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Também agradeço à Dulce por ter estado connosco e por ter possibilitado estes momentos em que tivemos esta entrevista, e cumprimento a si, caro irmão, querida irmã, por ter estado connosco durante esta entrevista e por nos ter dado esta possibilidade de levar um pouco mais sobre o que a nossa Igreja tem feito em termos de liberdade religiosa com o Dr. John Graz. Muito obrigado e Deus o abençoe.